Pharma's domestic reinforcement wave, $5 by Eli Lilly Virginia plant, and the $350 pledge Cascade. Eli Lilly announced a $5 billion investment to construct a fully integrated drug manufacturing plant in Goochland County, Virginia. The facility will produce APIs and finished drug products, focusing on Lilly's monoclonal antibodies and bioconjugate platforms. The project is expected to create 650 permanent high-skilled jobs and 1,800 construction jobs and will be completed in approximately 5 years. This marks Lilly's largest single-site investment in U.S. manufacturing. Lilly's move is part of a broader trend. GSK, AstraZeneca, Roche, and Novartis have all announced major U.S. investment plans ranging from $23 billion to $50 billion. In total, pharmaceutical companies have pledged over $350 billion in U.S. manufacturing and R&D expansion. This surge aligns biopharma industrial policy with U.S. geoeconomic strategy, reshoring production, insulating against geopolitical risk, and responding to Washington's push for tariff-backed industrial autonomy. BBIU Extended Analysis: Reshoring Biopharma in the U.S. versus National Emergency Coverage, Two Divergent Paths in Global Pharmaceutical Security. Section 1, Lilly's $5 billion plant and the $350 billion Cascade. This is not coincidental. It is the direct outcome of a convergence between industrial strategy and geoeconomic policy, Washington's tariff threats and protective signaling. The Trump administration's policy of a 15% baseline tariff on European imports, reinforced in the recent EU-US trade agreement, fundamentally altered the calculus for Big Pharma. The message was simple. If companies want to preserve privileged access to the U.S. market, they must bring production home. API vulnerability as strategic leverage. The global pharmaceutical system is built on a fragile base. The supply of chemical APIs and their precursors, key starting materials KSMs, is overwhelmingly concentrated in China and India. In our earlier editorial, API Leverage, the Silent Weapon in Global Diplomacy, BBIU highlighted how this dependence has become a geopolitical vulnerability. By investing billions into U.S. biologics facilities, companies like Lilly are effectively securing the premium layer of pharmaceutical value chains against external disruption. The U.S. dual industrial model. What we are witnessing is a two-tier restructuring of global pharma. The United States consolidates all high-margin, patent-protected biologics within its borders. The low-margin, commodity APIs are relegated to India, with China progressively excluded from supply chains for strategic and political reasons. In other words, these multi-billion-dollar projects are not simply expansions of capacity. They are acts of compliance with a new geoeconomic order. The United States is converting market access into leverage, and Big Pharma is paying the price of admission. Billions in capital investments to remain within the U.S. industrial security perimeter. From a corporate perspective, this is an insurance premium. From a strategic perspective, it is the legalized repatriation of profitable manufacturing capacity. And from a global perspective, it represents a dangerous asymmetry. While the United States secures biologic sovereignty, the rest of the world remains dangerously exposed to disruptions in the chemical foundation of modern medicine. Section 2, Annex, BBIU's Emergency Coverage Plan. While Big Pharma pours hundreds of billions into biologics factories in the U.S., the real question for most nations is different. What happens if tomorrow the supply of chemical APIs from India or China is disrupted? Antibiotics, insulin, diuretics, anticoagulants, anesthetics, these are not glamorous products. They are not front-page breakthroughs or billion-dollar blockbusters. But without them, patients die within hours to days. BBIU has therefore developed a minimal essential API coverage plan, designed not for profit or global competitiveness, but for national survival in emergencies. 1. Why only a minimal set? The global pharmacopoeia includes thousands of molecules, but only a handful are immediately life-saving in acute settings. By focusing on these, a country can drastically reduce costs while still ensuring sovereignty over its most critical therapeutic functions. 2. The essential API set 24-age mortality risk. Anti-infectives, penicillin G, aminopenicillins, meningitis, sepsis, ceftriaxone, sepsis, meningitis, pneumonia, vancomycin, MRSA, sepsis, endocarditis, ciprofloxacin, gram-negative septicemia, TMP-SMX, pneumocystis pneumonia in immunocompromised. Endocrine metabolic, insulin regular, ketoacidosis, hyperglycemic coma. Cardiovascular emergencies, furosemide for acute pulmonary edema, nitroglycerin for sublingual acute coronary syndrome, heparin for pulmonary embolism, acute thrombosis. Neurological anesthesia, diazepam for status epilepticus, phenytoin for seizure control when benzodiazepines fail. Ketamine, emergency anesthesia in trauma and surgery. This 11-molecule core is enough to stabilize virtually all catastrophic hospital emergencies: sepsis, meningitis, diabetic ketoacidosis, acute heart failure, myocardial infarction, pulmonary embolism, epileptic status, and major trauma. 3. Infrastructure required: 1 multipurpose chemical API facility, 2 3-synthesis trains for antibiotics, cardiovascular drugs, anticonvulsants, 1 small biotechnological unit to produce recombinant insulin. Strategic stockpiles: 6 to 12 months of finished doses and 3 to 6 months of KSM solvents. Human resources: 150 to 200 skilled staff, continuously trained in both modern continuous manufacturing and traditional batch methods. 4. Governance and economics. Cost: 0.5 to 1 USD per capita per year, negligible compared to the losses of even a single episode of shortage. Funding model: guaranteed state purchase proportional to private sales, preventing dependency on government contracts alone. GMP compliance, non-negotiable, to ensure quality and avoid FDA-style warning letter crises. WTO exemption, justified under the doctrine of national security and public health. Number 5. Strategic and social value. Security, ensures survival during global supply chain breakdowns. Training, serves as a national school for chemists, engineers, and QA/QC specialists. Equity, public stock rotation, supplies hospitals and primary care for low-income populations. Diplomacy, in crises, countries with minimal API plants can extend help to neighbors, converting pharmaceutical independence into soft power. Final BBIU position. BBIU's position is clear. Biologics sovereignty protects profits. API sovereignty protects lives. Any government serious about national security must recognize that without penicillin, insulin, heparin, or diazepam, no health system can survive even 48 hours of supply chain collapse. BBIU's warning: the current reshoring wave is creating an illusion of pharmaceutical security while leaving the real foundations exposed. The only responsible path forward is a dual strategy: allow Big Pharma to pursue biologics, but mandate national coverage for essential APIs. Without it, the next geopolitical crisis will not just be about tariffs and trade deficits. It will be about hospitals without insulin, ICUs without antibiotics, and patients dying in hours for lack of the simplest molecules.
Welcome to the BioPharma Business Intelligence Unit, where symbolic integrity meets strategic clarity. At BBIU, we go beyond the headlines to decode the structural forces behind global biopharma, AI, and economic realignment. If you value precision, verification, and symbolic depth, this channel is for you. Subscribe now to access our weekly briefings, dossiers, and intelligence reports, and consider joining our institutional tier to unlock early warning systems, custom metrics, and exclusive strategic insight. You're not just listening, you're entering the future of epistemic intelligence. www.biopharmabusinessintelligenceunit.com